Hi everyone, I'm Doug Black, Editor-in-Chief at Inside HPC. We're at the SC23 conference here in Denver, and I'm with Brent Gorda of AMD. He is Senior Executive of HPC and AI, and Brent?
It's good to see you again. Welcome to Denver.
Very good. So, what's the big news for AMD this week? Maybe the top 500 and the Green 500?
Yeah, so we can start with the top 500, and working from kind of low down to high up. KAUST actually made number 20 on the top 500, but it's interesting how they made that. Their AMD CPUs, CPU only, they didn't use the GPUs for this, their AMD CPUs came in over spec by quite a margin, which means that they could qualify and move up the top 500 by several positions. Even though the top 20 changed quite a bit, KAUST was able to move up just on the CPU partition of their system. So that's pretty big news. The KAUST guys were super stoked with that. That was a happy moment for them. Further up the chain, we know that the Argonne machine came in, but it wasn't enough there to disrupt number one. So Frontier is still number one on the top 500, and that's with the MI250 processor, which is our last generation processor. So we're moving forward, and very shortly now we'll be announcing the next generation of the GPU product called the MI300 series. And the interesting thing for the HPC community in that will be the MI300A, which is a fused architecture with the CPU and GPU on the same die, sharing memory between them. And so at a very high level, this disrupts the way we've been using GPUs for the past 20 years. The standard operating mode is that you load your data into the DDR memory of your CPU, and then you copy it over to your GPU, and pretty quick you realize that's a heavyweight operation, and so you try to overlap computation with the data moving. That all changes with this new architecture. You load the data into the memory and you tell the GPU to work on it. Super interesting. I'm very optimistic for this new product that's coming out to be announced formally soon.
Okay. We understand that the MI300 is being installed in El Capitan, the exascale system at Sandia?
At Livermore.
Pardon me, Livermore.
Yeah, El Capitan is at Livermore, and they're busy building up that system now, so everybody's excited to watch what's going on that part of the world.
And can you update us on MI300 as far as launch timing?
The launch timing is imminent. It's going to happen real soon now. There's been a press call for it, so all the press know when to assemble for that. I don't know that the date is public, so I'll refrain from sharing that, but it's unfortunately shortly after SC instead of shortly before SC, which we would all like to see it at.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about the Green 500, some of the highlights for AMD.
Yeah, so the Green 500, apparently we are 8 out of the top 10 on the Green 500. I've not independently verified this, but I believe what the engineers tell me. And that really goes to underscore a commitment that AMD made a few years ago, and that is to do a 30x performance per watt improvement between the years of 2020 and 2025. And so that's a huge step forward in that department. We're paying a lot of attention to energy consumption. Take a look at the top 10 and look at the energy consumption in the top machines, and you'll get a feeling for what we're talking about. But again, that loops back to the new architecture with the MI300A processor. You're not replicating data, you're not shuffling data, you're saving a huge amount of energy in that. And so we're really optimistic that what we'll see is a step up in terms of performance per watt with that architecture as well.
So share with us a little perspective of AMD on the HPC AI sector. Certainly, the hyperscalers will be in demand for your chips, but what is the company's outlook on HPC and what it really means?
So AMD is probably the most committed company to HPC that I've ever worked at. AMD realizes that HPC doesn't provide the same margins that the AI community is doing right now. The nut of it is the AI community will come in and say, what's on the truck and how much does it cost, we'll take it. And the historical trends in HPC is they're working off public funds or otherwise stretched dollar for dollar to try to get the best performance they can. And AMD is in this business. AMD realizes that you don't get AI unless you've got HPC. and all the way up, as we were talking earlier, you actually talked with Lisa Su, but my boss, Brad McCready above that, Mark Papermaster, Lisa Su, these are all people who have worked in HPC, understand it, and it's, you know, once you've been in HPC, it's kind of like me, I've been doing it for 30 years, once you get a nibble of HPC, you find it so fascinating and so interesting, it's just hard to put aside, and so you're willing to go the extra mile and make stuff happen.
It's really true. It's at the tip of the spear, and it's always interesting.
Always interesting. You know, last night I'm standing at the Beowulf Bash. Where else do you get to talk to a rocket scientist from NASA? Bob Ciotti walks up, "Hey, Brent, how's it going?" I'm like, "Bob, you're working on satellites," and you know, all that stuff is just dripping with coolness. It's just, you can't turn your back on that. We're
Really
all
true.
nerds.
Very good. All right, we've been with Brent Gorda of AMD, and thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for your time.